The Phoenix Suns just keep losing, so how do they escape crisis mode? You guys asked the questions. We're going to answer them on a mailbag edition of PHNX Suns coming up right after this. Psychos and sickos unite for a mailbag edition of PHNX Suns, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365 when you sign up, and find out why, whatever the moment, winning is everything over at Bet365. Thank you all for joining us. Man, you had to ruin the Friday vibes, Steven. I'm Eric, that's Skill. Who cares who that guy on the end is there? We have the mustache behind the Mac, the OG producer of the show, making all of the magic happen. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well.
What's his name?
To Russell. His name is Shane Diefenbach. Hello to Russell. Hello to
Leah?
Elko. Hello to Leah, who's walking into the office. Hello to Kara, Craig, and Mark, and everybody who's hanging out with us on a Friday, as the Phoenix Suns do have a couple of off days here before playing on Easter, a 12:30 game on Easter, which is crazy scheduling. But look, we thought this was a great time. 5 games left in the regular season. We got a whole lot of post-game shows coming up, not a ton of 3 p.m. shows. We would just love to open up the mailbag for everybody. So, gentlemen, let's dive right into it if you don't mind. Our first question comes from our diehard Discord, our guy, Psycho Blue, who quite simply puts, when does the hurting stop?
When you adjust the sails on your expectations.
Victim blaming.
Wow.
Sure.
That's
But my
crazy.
point in reasoning and bringing that up is, as I mentioned probably 2 months ago at this point, the team has far exceeded almost everybody's expectations, including mine. They were relatively high compared to the field and the lowest of the spectrum of people in terms of what they were expecting from this team. They're ahead of schedule on that front by our accounts. From everything that I'm able to glean and that we're all able to glean in terms of consuming the team on a daily basis, it's very much clear that they're ahead of their own expectations as far as where the team is right now. So this is found money in a sense. Like, obviously, they're still looking to make the absolute most of it. But they're kind of in a space where you're cemented in your spot. You've exceeded expectations. Postseason play in some capacity is guaranteed. You just want to get there in the best shape possible. And I feel like they're on trajectory to continue to do that part in particular. And that's one of the goals that we all mentioned that we hope to see from this team down this last single-digit number of games stretched from our last 3 p.m. show.
Obviously, the circumstances aren't funny, but it is a layered question because this team keeps getting hurt too. Like last night, we're waiting now. We're like, only 2 guys left to get healthy, and then Jordan Goodwin gets hurt. And we have no idea what's going on with his calf injury. But I think genuinely, basically the way I would say it is not to say, stop letting it hurt you. But we got to just look at the glass half full more often and then hold on to some positivity that they still can do some things. There are 5 games left in this season. If they can figure some stuff out and show us some things to be positive about going into the play-in tournament almost definitely, then maybe the hurting stops when we see something positive happen in the postseason. So, I don't know.
I'll refrain from answering this one because I don't think it's in a very positive place right now. I would like to get to a positive place with our second question from our diehard Discord, our guy, Sean. Sean says, am I crazy? Yes. For not being too worried about the team going into the play-in. Granted, I don't like how the team has strayed away from their identity of late, but I trust them to bring the intensity they've shown us for the majority of the season in a postseason setting. So is Sean crazy for not being too worried about this losing stretch for the Suns?
Sean, you're not crazy. You may be a little too optimistic, and I only say that because we've seen this team not meet the mark in the last couple of playoff-like games. I think the last one we could say that they got was that Raptors game, and they basically made the Raptors look pretty silly out there. But other than that, the Hornets test was a test I thought was important. They were not able to succeed in that one. They weren't able to succeed in that Nuggets test, which is, albeit a very tough test when Denver came here. And the Magic test was another one where they weren't the ones that were the aggressors, didn't bring the physicality, and it was a playoff-like circumstance and situation. However, this team has built up a lot of goodwill. I think that they are kind of they're undoing that good work from earlier in the season. But if that carries more weight than what we've seen as of late in the past 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and you take in the context of injuries and stuff like that, then I understand the optimism there. So I wouldn't say that you're crazy. I think you're just an optimist that's looking more at the good that we saw a while back, and I'm thinking more what we've seen lately. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah, I think it's a tough situation right now because I feel like I've been very positive about this team all year, and I think their play recently definitely warrants some negative criticism and coverage, and we're going to definitely be diving into a lot of this throughout the day, but I still have that feeling in the back of my head. If I'm doing a gut check, I do feel confident about the play-in and maybe even a playoff series just because I will believe it until they prove that they can't do it.
And that's
right?
in the game itself.
Right. And there are so many reasons as to why things have not been going great as of late, but I do feel like that when we get to a play-in or playoff scenario, this team will be able to push the right buttons. You have Devin Booker, who's a notorious playoff riser. You have Dillon Brooks, who's really risen in big moments. Jalen Green's looking to have kind of his redemption from a poor playoffs last year. You have a Jordan Ott, who has seen playoff failures firsthand with the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last couple of years. So I feel like this is a team poised to make a statement. I just hope that it's more than the statement that they made at the beginning of the season, right? That's what a little bit of the concern is.
Sorry, I just got caught off guard by some news from Luka Doncic in the camp there.
What?
He intends to apply for the Extraordinary Circumstances Challenge to the 65-game rule pertaining to this injury via hamstring that he sustained last night, which would put his awards recognition in jeopardy, which naturally, as we all know, is public information, also impacts guys and their contracts with the incentives that are baked and built into those. That's very interesting.
See if he wins.
Mark that, move on. Huh?
Yeah, see if he wins. See if he wins that challenge.
For sure, but I think it takes someone of that cloth to kick that first domino down, and there'll be more guys that are joining him on that front. Anyway, sorry, that's not Suns news, but it's NBA news.
It is NBA news.
Reeling it back into the Suns, Sean, you're not crazy. I feel like I'm akin to where he is mentally with assessing the team. Where I hesitate just a little bit is they got to show it in these last couple of weeks of the season against some of this talent that they'll be having to go up against before they get to the finish line. They need to show it and need to get back in alignment with that. They haven't been there in the last month and a half, especially defensively. And I feel like we've seen uneven results from the team largely because of the lack of consistency and execution on defense. If they start to show that and they're able to kind of get back in tune with that particular dynamic, then I'm all in on them being able to get out of the play-in relatively easy if they do it on their terms and then get into that first-round series with whoever the 2 seed is, which still at this present moment is San Antonio. So they got work to do for me to get back fully 10 toes down with that perspective that you have, but I'm very close to that right now still.
That's what I was going to say. Like, they have a couple tests left, 5 games left. The Bulls, you better take care of business against the Bulls. And then you play the Rockets and Mavs, back-to-back games, Mavs first, and then you go on the road and now play the Luka Doncic-less Lakers and a Thunder team who probably, maybe, has the 1 seed sewed up by the last day of the season. Mm-hmm. So I think now it's like, okay, we said it before, when you play these teams who are lesser than or don't have everybody or they're not playing for as much, are you playing Phoenix Suns basketball? And I think that that's the concern with me. I just want to see sustained levels for at least 2/3 of these games that are remaining. Mm-hmm. Can they play 48 minutes of Phoenix Suns basketball? And if they are able to do that, then I will forget everything that's happened over the past few weeks. But as you both said in different words, I need to see it to believe it. And I still can because this team has done enough for me to kind of flip the switch again. But right now, I'm kind of disillusioned with what I've seen.
Yeah, they could still definitely lose, right? I mean, you were still in this point where the way they've been playing recently, I would be a lot less shocked than maybe with how they were playing in January. Yeah. But I do feel the same as you, Sean, right? I think this team is going to be able to step up big in a big moment. We got a big question from Crusader. What's up, Crusader, who drops this in our diehard Discord as well. This is a fun one. I can only hope that these bad games with questionable lineups are intentional to create, quote, bad film for our first round playoff opponent to study so we can lure them into a false strategy to play against us. Then we bamboozle them and steal that critical game 1 win. Or is it really just as simple as we are scrambling to find out what works a bit late into the season, especially after one player after another has been sidelined with injury, which has messed with our team's consistency? So, Gil, which side do you fall on? Purposefully losing and putting out bad lineups to confuse a round 1 opponent that you don't even know if you'll make the playoffs yet, or scrambling to make things work a bit late in the season?
It was enticing of an answer as the first one is. I'm going to go with the latter as far as the fact that this team is really scrambling and they don't have everything together yet. And we were talking about a runway. Runway is a word that probably after alignment and aligned, we've said the most on this podcast as far as getting a runway about getting guys back and how much time is it going to take to reincorporate Dillon Brooks and Mark Williams and allow them to understand how to play with Jalen Green and Devin Booker. And basically, we're going to see a 6-game runway for this team. And you factor in the fact that Haywood Highsmith and Amir Coffey aren't available. Granted, they weren't with this team 2 months ago, but still. And you think about Jordan Goodwin exiting the lineup as well and knowing how important he is to this team. So they're trying to figure some stuff out. They're trying to figure out answers on the fly. Obviously not easy because Jordan Knott has the tough problem of trying to play guys who deserve to play and figuring out how to put the pieces in the right positions. And as we can tell by the results, he has not found the answers yet. Now, he could just find the answer at the 7-minute mark of the second quarter of the Bulls game, and everything could be figured out. It might not happen until the season's finale. But until, again, this team is eliminated, they're going to have opportunities to find those right answers. So I expect to see them continue to try different things, different combinations, throw things at the wall, see what sticks.
It's definitely the latter stanza for me, especially the last sentence that you mentioned. And I think for me, more than anything, like obviously the team is scrambling just because of the last-minute nature of being as close to full health as they've been all season long. The other part of it, though, the kind of it's ancillary in thought, but primary in terms of applying the context to the process right now. And that's them just simply having had to shift and shuffle the deck so many different ways. Collin Gillespie start. Collin Gillespie come off the bench. Collin Gillespie start. And then you stay in the starting lineup until at this present moment, going into Sunday's game against the Bulls. We'll see what happens if anything changes there. But that shuffling of the deck with him and Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal and Oso Ighodaro, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You can mix Ryan Dunn in there too if you want to because he started the season literally as a starter and he just hasn't been back in that capacity. That's a lot of changing musical chairs, if you will. And then you factor in all of that also with Devin Booker having missed time and been back in and missed time. Jalen Green, the kind of reshuffle another deck there. He's in, he's out, he's back out. And then Dillon Brooks ultimately losing time as well. Add Mark Williams to that mix. That's a lot. That's a lot for any team to have to try to deal with over the course of a regular season and find a way to sustain an identity with all of those pieces back or almost all of them back. Add to that, they've also added 2 kind of viable vets in Amir Coffey and Haywood Highsmith, who unfortunately are also hurt right now too. There's a lot to deal with. I think they've streamlined as much as they possibly could. I think they've done as much with what they've had available as much as any team in this season right now at this present moment. Now it's just about can they kind of compile it and get just a little bit more out of the sum of their whole parts, even without having experience on their side in terms of volume of games played.
I don't think they have anything to hide because they don't know what works for them yet. They can't choose what to hide when they don't know what it is they should be hiding.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll say this. Jordan Knott is not your typical first-year coach in the NBA. You can tell as this team has exceeded expectations and how he's gotten the most out of a lot of these guys, but it is still his first year as an NBA coach. And a lot of these things he's trying to do for the first time in his coaching career. Obviously, he's done it from an assistant's job where he's seen guys who he's worked with do it, but now he's making these decisions for the first time, and he's figuring it out as well. So, we talk about, we say it with rookies all the time, this is the worst he'll ever be as a head coach as well. And I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but he's still learning. So I think that's a big part of it, learning himself, but also learning this team, and he has not given anything close to an ideal deck this season. So patience is important.
Somebody just found the answer. Trading Devin Booker and getting some young, tall dudes in return.
Wow.
So I'm
a big fan of young, tall dudes game.
I was gonna mention one
Wemby?
thing, and then you add this to it. Does it ever get tired just throwing out trading Devin Booker?
No.
Knowing that it's not going to
Obviously
happen.
I think they get high off of it. Like, I
Clearly.
think they enjoy it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's in a similar vein but different context. Does it get tired of just blaming a coach for all of the team's woes and issues? Like it's an honest question. Suns fans, it might have been a little bit more apt with one of the two previous coaches prior to Jordan Knott than the other. That part we don't have to even take time to speak about because we did that all last season. But does it get tiring after a while of just wanting to press the default button of blame the coach this, blame the coach that? Every coach sucks if that's the case. Like, is that what, like, that can't be the perspective that you have. That just cannot be. That cannot be.
The default buttons are pretty like 1 and 2. It's like blame coach, blame book, and maybe press both buttons at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, Mark says, Steven, it's a time-honored tradition for the last 3 years. Don't take this from us.
But we don't have to conform to those habits.
We gotta grow
People just
too.
got done saying this dude was the coach of the year 3 weeks ago.
Well,
These highest of highs and lowest of lows. Listen, my job, I feel like I'm indebted to Suns fans to try to help make their fan experience be incrementally better. If I help you be 1% better a fan, I feel like I've served my purpose. I imagine it has to be emotionally taxing. Pressing the default blame the coach button season after season after season. Even if you are right one time, guess what? A broke clock is right twice a day too. You can't put too much stock into that. Just let them rock out. They're already ahead of your expectations. Yes, you. They're ahead of your expectations that you just didn't have for them this season. Probably about double-digit games at this point. Just relax. Maybe take a pre-edible if that's what you want to indulge in. That'll help you. And just watch and enjoy this game and this team having functionality compared to what it was 365 days ago, and considering where they are in the standings, just let it play out. I promise you'll enjoy the game, which I hope is the reason why you watch basketball right now, to just enjoy the game.
Well, on that
Didn't mean
note,
to preach. Didn't mean to go
on that,
on
no, I
dissertation.
appreciate it,
We
Steven.
needed that.
I do have some bad news for you, though, Steven.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of questions about changes that Jordan Knott should make, and we're going to get
Of
to them on the other
course.
side of our first break.
Winning is everything at Bet365, and I'm still winning our list.
Congrats.
There's still some time.
I'm so happy for you.
There's still time for you to come back because
true.
the best part of the season is here. It's the closing of the season and the best time in the sports calendar. We got college basketball winding down, MLB beginning up, NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and the W is on the horizon as well. And Bet365 is where you want to get in on the action. Bet $10, you win $365. Any new Bet365 user signs up, makes a $10 bet, they'll get $365 in bonus bets, win or lose. I can't ask for much more than that. You can't ask for much more than that as well. Bet365 is where winning is everything. Download the app today and use code PHNX365 at sign up today. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in AZ. Please gamble responsibly, must be present in AZ. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wager excluded from returns. New customers only, 21 plus only. Time limits, minimum odds, and terms and conditions apply. In-app only and void where prohibited.
From the windows to the walls, Window Depot's got it all.
Oh boy.
Including and introducing flooring at all of their locations.
I am
Also,
floored as well.
now offering iron doors starting at just $999. Iron doors are built for strength, style, and security. Available in stunning designs and ready to elevate your entryway. Window Depot is ready to elevate your entire place. Now with 8 locations across Arizona and windows proudly manufactured here in AZ. They've got Phoenix, Surprise, Chandler, Tucson, Rana. There's one near you, whatever job site your project is. Contractors and homeowners, well, they love the Window Depot. Whether you're remodeling a kitchen or tackling a multi-family build, their expert staff and no membership policy makes it easy to get what you need and to get it fast. They're growing, and they've been serving Arizona since 2002. And while they started with just windows, they're now way more than just a window store. Like I mentioned, flooring, but also cabinets, countertops, everything that you need, vanities, and more, all in stock and ready for pickup. Shop online, pick up in store, or browse and order directly at thewindowdepot.com. With real-time access to in-stock products at your nearest location, get what you need when you need it with the Window Depot. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for hanging out with us here on a Friday. We have a bunch of mailbag questions that we will be getting to, but first let's get to a super chat question from Hoosman. Thank you, Hoosman. Says, has the team aligned with Green? I know there's more, quote, context with this, but it seems since he's been back, things have just been off. Thoughts?
Yes, they have aligned with Mr. Green. We just got done detailing that maybe going into the game against the Magic, I believe, where we were talking about how the team has shifted to get the most out of Jalen Green, but they've also learned from Jalen Green in turn to how to better position him, but how to use him as a piece within the team context and concept too. So I think they're very much aligned with Jalen. I beg to differ. He had one of his best games in the Suns uniform last night. Now, obviously, it didn't come with the result that the team wanted or needs at this present moment in the season, but that dude did everything. 14 drives, 15 points, 3 blow-bys within that, tons of paint touches. I think he had like maybe 7 assists or 8 assists. Most of those came off of drives in some capacity. He was going to get paint touches galore against a team that switches. And that's the thing that the Suns just simply haven't had to combat that style of defense, and that's what teams are going to throw at them in postseason play. So I think the team is very aligned with Mr. Green, but I think it also works the other way around too.
I think the concern, and last night is just one example, but the fact that he had his best game in a 20-point loss was just something I'm not sounding the alarm over, but I could see why somebody would. And I think what's important that you pointed out, and we even heard Jordan not talk about it, is that it's kind of like a couple things have to happen before everything clicks. Jalen needs to figure out this team. This team needs to figure out Jalen. And then when those things happen, then you start seeing everything align as far as him having those types of performances in wins. And then him kind of fitting in with what everybody else has to do as well. And as we talked about before the break, it's all happening on the fly because he missed so much time, because the guys who he needed to play off of missed so much time, that it's never been a complete picture around him. And just as soon as he gets comfortable with things being one way, they're another way now because more guys are back. Dillon Brooks is back. Yes, they played together in Houston, but it's a completely different dynamic right now. So I understand the concern around that alignment, but I think that because of the chemistry between everybody, including Jalen, they're going to continue to work to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this team is continuing to work to figure out is lineups. And that's been obviously a really big topic of conversation for this team, specifically the starting lineup. Let's get to our next question here. In our diehard Discord again from Lexville, thank you so much, Lexville, says, and this is quoting Lexville, starting Collin is a mistake. He doesn't get to play his game offensively as he takes a backseat to Booker, Green, and Brooks. Do you agree? If Ott really wanted a 3-guard lineup, Goody would be better as he can play his game without the ball. I'd prefer Royce or Fleming as they can play defense and shoot the 3. Do you agree?
I agree in part. I think there's a bit of the reshuffling of the deck dynamic that's in the mix with Collin Gillespie in particular, that's kind of hampered some of the rhythm in terms of game and approach to certain pockets where he's had to hesitate maybe just a little bit or just not have the ball in his hands outright, which is something that innately he's comfortable doing because he is more of a combo than a traditional one. But it's been a different type of rhythm and cadence when Jalen was out and Devin was out, who's pretty much been in the lineup every game this season for the Suns. And he spent that time in the starting lineup with so many different iterations from the 5 to the 4 to the 3 and the 2 that are around him. So it gets a little tough and hazy when you want to assess it from that lens. But I do firmly believe that when this team is healthy, the best iteration of Collin is going to be when he can be maybe like the lead or primary scorer for the reserve unit. Doing that against more reserve units over the course of a game, having a bunch of wide-ranging, wiry, athletic defenders around him from 5 at Oso to Rasheer Fleming and Ryan Dunn and Haywood Highsmith and Royce O'Neal mixed in there. I think that's the best version of this team. I also think that the other part of it, too, is there's a size component to it. Now, obviously, yes, we talked about on postgame last night the Suns are inherently smaller, but I do feel like they could greatly benefit in the starting unit for having another guy that plus size on the wing can go next to Dillon Brooks, maybe guard fours and let Dillon go point of attack, or vice versa, and just generally be able to switch and kind of maintain matchups from there.
With that, I think about the ideal second unit, and health is the big thing. And getting Oso back in that second unit with Collin, I think you see the 2-man game they have that works so well. That's an important part. And I don't necessarily think that Goody would be the answer to starting lineup. We've seen him start at the 4, kind of, for this team. And I think that size isn't as much of an issue when you have a guy even plays, like 4 or 5 inches taller than he actually is. But my one thing that gives me pause with it being Goody is that what he means for the second unit and the way that he galvanized that group and the way that they kind of follow his fire and how he's so important to either maintain the game flow or change the game flow if it's not going the way that it needs to go for the Suns. So I wouldn't say that it's a mistake because of his offensive game per se. I think it's just the size component is just such a big deal, and I think that handling the initiation by committee between Booker, Green, and Brooks, and then bringing more size in that starting unit. But I do agree completely. Royce or Fleming, I think it's Royce just because he's been there and done it enough. And I think Rasheer eventually down the line is your power forward of the future. But right now, to go win a play-in game, to go make noise in a playoff series, bring the vet back in the starting lineup.
A couple of things here. I think Mark makes a good point that he feels like the reason Collin is still starting, even though there are a lot of guys back, is because Oso is still starting, and those two have such great chemistry. Also mentioned that he thinks it was underrated how much the bench's offense was Collin and Oso kind of running things and then shooters spacing around it. I have been pretty firm in the fact that I believe Collin Gillespie should move to the bench here. Now, I will also say that we talked about a month ago at this point about let's put Rasheer Fleming in the starting lineup to see. And I remember staunchly saying then, you cannot wait until the end of the season to throw Rasheer Fleming in the starting lineup. I need people to come to terms with the, Jordan Ott, as a rookie head coach, will not be inserting a rookie who has played half of the season into the starting lineup 5 games before the play-in. I understand how tantalizing it is. I understand that we're all very high on Rasheer Fleming. If there is a change to the starting lineup, it will not be Rasheer Fleming starting. I would be floored because that just doesn't happen. You do not put that guy in the starting lineup 5 games before you have a win or go home and you just say, figure it out. Right? I don't think that's going to happen. So realistically, I think Dillon and Royce is a good balance of 2 guys that have guarded 4s a lot this season so that they can kind of take turns with Mark, of course, being a bigger presence than Oso. I do think Collin off the bench and the same Mark with Goody, I think they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Obviously, very different games, but when they come off the bench, they're total disruptors, right? Jordan Goodwin checks in, completely disrupts the game. When Collin Gillespie checks in, he completely disrupts the game. He's running off of screens, taking really difficult threes, passing the ball well, just on 2 different sides of the ball that they're disruptors. So I think both of them really fit in well off the bench. I think they can both be starters, but with Collin, if you're going to be a starter, I don't think it can be next to 2 other guards that should likely be starting in your position as well. So it's tough. I get why Ott continues to do it. I am ready for a change, but I have come to terms and accept the fact that it will not be Rasheer Fleming in the starting lineup.
Yeah, for me, I would love for it to be Haywood Highsmith. I think I've been pretty public about saying that. But each game that passes that he's just not available is less likely because you need that starting unit to build up reps. And I think the reps part and how often the team has had to lean more into Royce O'Neal for the things that he brings to a unit often has resulted in him starting a lot of games. I remember maybe 2 weeks ago, I was just looking at Royce's numbers just to see if what I'm mentally thinking matched what I'm seeing in the numbers for the season as a whole for him. And he started probably 10 more games than I thought he actually did. Now, some of that gets hazy because all of the injuries, you kind of get lost in the weeds with how often somebody is in a certain unit or used in a certain lineup. So there's a little bit of that with that, but I think more than anything, Jordan Ott trusts his vets to be able to just figure it out off of the veteran know-how, if you will, but just the experience more than anything. There's nothing that he hasn't seen, and you put that in tandem with someone like Dillon Brooks, that's probably the best version of having size while also being able to do the things that you need functionality-wise defensively.
And one last thing here before we go to another Collin question. This would be a really different conversation if you didn't go 0 for 20 over a stretch. Starting the 3 guards really works when he's hitting a bunch of threes and hitting 4 threes a game, right? That totally different conversation where maybe you're getting targeted, but then you're going back and you're getting 12 points in the first quarter, right? You saw at the beginning of the Denver game. Collin started and completely broke that game open. So a bad timing for him to go through the cold streak.
But do you think that is that cold streak is kind of what they were saying?
He's in a bad position himself.
Yeah, just his cold streak is, yeah.
I was going to say, too, I feel like the underrated part of you to the points that y'all are bringing up with him and Goody, I think you see and feel Collin's leadership more with the reserves than with the starters.
Yeah.
Naturally, because you have guys that have done things that Collin just hasn't done yet in the league. I think it's just a little bit of leniency there that helps him a lot.
Yeah. One more question here on Collin before we hit another break here. Swingy says, why does Ott continue to go with the 3-guard lineups with Collin? Every fan has been asking for more size, but Ott continues to run small. Do you guys think this may be coming from the front office as a play to keep Collin happy and re-sign here, or is it actually an advantage?
For the first part, I say, why does he continue to do it? Continuity. He's been the healthiest player on the team this season.
He started almost 60 games.
Started almost 60 games. Second part, Collin Gillespie, let me be very clear. Collin Gillespie made Collin Gillespie. The work that he put in and being ready when the time was right. However, the Phoenix Suns gave him the opportunity to be that. So I don't think that he cares if he's starting or coming off the bench. He went from an undrafted player to a contract to being a guy starting 60-plus games in the season. I think that he is going to be very happy with this organization regardless. There's nothing they need to do lineup-wise to keep him happy enough to re-sign. It's going to be more about a dollar figure, and I would be willing to say that they are going to do whatever they can in their power to keep him around, and I don't think his happiness is dependent on its role.
I mean, if anything, him starting will make him demand more money, which makes it less likely for the Suns to be able to re-sign him. I don't think that this is an organizational thing.
No, and I'll just copy and paste my answer from last night. Playing a lot of 3-guard lineups because look at the roster. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. The roster does tend to go a little smaller. We got another question about a starting lineup, a wild starting lineup we've never heard of before. Plus, of course, more about how the Suns can actually overcome some of their deficiencies, even if they can do it. Plus, confidence level the Suns will get out of the play-in, and what happens if the worst-case scenario happens. That's all on the other side of our second break. Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but gas prices are getting pretty high. Yeah, Steven, you're shaking your head, but luckily you'll be shaking it yes when you open up that Inner Circle app and you look at all the money that you can save over at Circle K in their free membership program, the Inner Circle. I'm talking putting in your phone number, putting in your email after downloading the free Circle K app, and boom, you're instantly saving. Like if you're a new member of the Inner Circle, get 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Other than that, you can get 3 cents to 5 cents off per gallon on every single fill-up, and sometimes we'll throw you 20 cents off per gallon and those vaunted Inner Circle fuel days where you can save up to 40 cents off per gallon all day. They're still throwing those out there because Circle K, they care about you and they care about affordability. Plus, they also give you more than just gas deals, like meal deals, $3, $4, and $6 meal deals, plus, of course, a bunch of deals on energy drinks, snacks, and everything in between that you can find at a Circle K. So join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
After I fill up the snacks at Circle K, I'm excited because I get to cross off a new ballpark off my list. I'm new in Arizona, and I moved here after baseball season. Now the MLB is back. I'm going to go to a D-backs game this year. When I go there, I'm going to use the Game Time app to get my tickets to that game because the Game Time app is so intuitive. It's easy to use. The prices are what you see is what you get. The fees are included, full stop, nothing extra, no surprises, and that's exactly why I want to use the Game Time app. And listen, right now, you can take the guesswork out of MLB tickets on Game Time. And if you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code PHNX, you get $20 off your first purchase. Now, of course, some terms apply with that, as with everything in life, but that's a deal you can't beat. So create an account, redeem the code PHNX, get $20 off just in time for MLB to be around. Download the Game Time app today or head over to gametime.co and tell them PHNX sent you.
What time is it?
Game time? I'm using Game Time to go to the Suns game
There
next
you go.
week because you always got to use Game Time.
Got to use Game Time.
Big shout out to everybody joining us here, of course, hanging out on a Friday afternoon. We have a question coming up from Russell, and Russell is also our die-hard spotlight of the day. Russell is not just a Suns diehard, but somebody who has been in all of the shows. He's also a big ASU fan as well. If you are a PHNX fan, you know about Russell. Russell is just the best. Russell has been a diehard for 2 years. Favorite team is the Phoenix Suns. Is from Parker, Arizona, and favorite athlete is Devin Booker. Obviously, you all know Russell, and Russell's here. Hello, Russell. Of course, Russell's here.
One time MVP chant for Russell. 1, 2, 3.
MVP. Let's go, Russell. Big time. We appreciate you, man. He is one of our most active in the diehard Discord as well, and just always talking Suns, but also kind of like our newsbreaker in the Discord too. He's always sending along all the other news. So we just
Shams Russell,
yes,
or Shams Norowski, however you want to.
Russell Sharania.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, Russell. Russell, we also have a question from you as well. Now, I'm gonna tell you what, Russell, your question got the biggest reaction during our show planning earlier today. Should the Suns start to experiment with a starting lineup of Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Rasheer Fleming, Ryan Dunn, and Dillon Brooks against some of the tougher teams because of the length Dunn and Fleming bring and the defense Jalen, Dillon, Fleming, and Dunn bring? So no center, except for, I guess, starting small ball with Rasheer at the 5 and Dunn in there. Well, I am fascinated by this lineup. I cannot imagine a world where this is ever the Suns starting 5.
Russ said he heard all your small ball complaints and said, look, we're going to lean all the way into it. You know, it's one of those things very experimental, and if there were more than 5 games left in the season and not that many more tough teams left, maybe, but I don't see it happening. However, I do want to take a point that you made. Watching that Dunn and Fleming duo wreak havoc as wing defenders, I do want to see them kind of play together and kind of have shifts in tandem, or at least have a couple overlapping shifts, because we've seen them create a lot of chaos with their defensive activity and their wingspans. So that part of it right there, I could see it. Maybe not in the starting lineup, but I would like to see a chaos lineup featuring those two guys.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Gil. I think there's opportunity for that to be just a sub lineup that they're using, but not their primary. But I like the vision. I like you thinking outside the box. Anytime someone wants to go outside of the norm to think things through, I always at least entertain the thought of it. So I appreciate that. I don't think it's a starting caliber unit, though.
I do think, though, that we've seen the small ball counterpunch the Suns have thrown out there. That honestly might be their best small ball lineup, right? You've got your 3 shot creators in Jalen and Dillon and Book out there. So those are your offensive engines. Okay. Ryan's not a great shooter. He is capable of shooting threes. He is willing to shoot threes. He's your
best cutter, though.
Right. He's your best cutter. He's probably the most Jalen's most athletic guy on the floor, but like him and
I don't know, man.
Rasheer's crazy athlete. I mean, Ryan's a crazy athlete.
To your point,
like, Ryan
all
is
of them are in the same
athlete,
lineup
right?
with each other.
And so you have Dillon, who can guard maybe your like kind of bigger, stockier post type players, because he does sometimes lean over into guarding that. Ryan's going to be your POA guy, and then Rasheer's going to be your rim protector as a small ball 5 that we have seen had some success as well. So that iteration with offensive engines of Dillon, Book, and Jalen, I feel like that might be their best small ball option, which it is something that Jordanot's been going to. I would love to see this lineup. I don't think there's any way the Suns do not start one of Mark Williams or Oso Ighodaro if they're fully healthy.
I still think one of their best, if not their outright best small ball unit is going to have Haywood in there. I feel like we saw it against Boston and Toronto. Those games were both losses. They were not because of Haywood Highsmith. I'll say that kindly. I think that him and Fleming on the court together with Dillon Brooks is something that I just cannot wait to see. You throw Jordan Goodwin in there, and you might have me sitting courtside like a little kid with my legs in the air behind me as I'm sitting there like this, looking like just like admiring and adoring.
Glenn Davis's trophy picture.
That is just so much blue-collar dynamic on the court at one time. And you
Steven
throw one of Jalen.
Excited.
You throw one of Jalen, or you throw one of Devin out there in that lineup, and you really have a unit that I feel like can not just coexist, but impact the terms of a game how it's being played, even if it is only for like a 3.5 to 4 minute stretch. Those are the type of lineups where if you have that button you can press and you have enough of an understanding of how those units work, that can get you a win in the game. That might get you one of those kill shots always talk about, those 10-0 runs. You compile 2 of those, your chances of winning a game skyrocket.
I'm very intrigued when you mentioned Haywood, and hopefully he gets healthy and gets back in the rotation before this season's over. But just flipping him with Ryan, I think where Ryan makes up in athleticism, I think Haywood has a little more capability from beyond the arc, as we saw in that Boston game. So being able to press different buttons. And I'm also reminded of something I said at the end of that Magic game. And I don't know if this is what Jordanot's philosophy is, but we questioned, who was in and who wasn't, and who got benched and who didn't. But Devin Booker was out there, and Devin Booker is always going to play 30-plus minutes. So maybe he's the lone constant, and they try all of these different combinations because they all have the different plug-and-play types of things they can do with all these interchangeable wings and wing defenders that they can have. And we might see these different looks in different spots during the last 5 games.
Sean, yes.
Sean says SPG on his stomach courtside, legs up, hands on his chin in admiration. Just
And
giggling.
like they had the high school cheerleaders posing the pictures. Yep.
Russell wants to clarify, I was thinking Dillon at the 5 with Rasheer more roaming out on the perimeter, which again, I think they could both do it. I think it's very, very fascinating.
Depends on the matchup.
Yeah, I
think Dillon might be more inclined for the perimeter just for fouling purposes, and Sheer might be better off for the rim protection side.
but if you're going for switches and stuff, those are two guys that
there's no wrong answer there.
yeah. At a point, the Suns' best small ball 5 was Dillon Brooks before Rasheer Fleming was there. So again, fascinating question, Russell. I don't think that they could start, but I do think that they could play, and that is something that we are trying to figure out as we get here into the play-in. Another thing we're trying to figure out is what United's question is aiming about, which is, in my opinion, the Suns' biggest deficiency is rebounding. Size plays into it as they're smaller than most teams, but I also see a lack of boxing out and rebounding technique. He didn't say this, but I'm going to put this in there, besides Jordan Goodwin. Is there a realistic fix to this besides getting new personnel in the big positions? I love this question, right? Because we talk a lot about Steven, earlier in the show, you're like, can't just keep on pressing the blame coach button, right? A lot of people are looking to the future, like the one comment that said trade Devin Booker for tall guys, right? But, personnel change, the Suns could be bigger. Gil, what can they do now, right? What can the players do now to maybe eliminate the disadvantages that they have when it comes to rebounding and size?
I think the big one is, you talk about boxing out and rebounding technique. I mean, it does start there, right? There have been a lot of times where we've seen the play break down, the end of the play, and teams get offensive rebounds because a guy gets lost in the box out assignment, or the box out wasn't held long enough, it wasn't a strong box out, and the angles aren't there. So that's a big part of rebounding. It's a science. It's angles, it's effort, and that. There's gang rebounding, which you hear teams talk about a lot. If you're undersized, typically defensively, all 5 guys have to go to the glass. And this is a team where we see really good rebounding technique and effort on the offensive end. You talk about the offensive rebounding rate a lot. And you talk about it, you see it from the guards. You see Goody do it, which he ain't a guard when it comes to rebounding. But you talk about Collin Gillespie doing it at times. I think adopting that mentality where, look, we need everybody checking out with a body on somebody, and everybody has to go get a rebound, because the team that's shooting the ball, a couple guys are assigned to get back. They have to get back in transition, because if everybody went for them to crash, then you get so much in transition. So the guys who their assignment, the guy they're guarding isn't going to rebound, go help out with the rebounding. That's how you can kind of make up for a lack of size. In a perfect world, you got your bigs in there holding it down, and it's just a rebounding battle. But because you have that lack of size, you need some guards to come in and help clear things out, clean things up. And I think that's the button you press right now to kind of patch over things where they are.
Yeah, they are 26th in non-garbage time minutes for their rebounding percentage. 30.6 of the defensive rebounds available is what they're grabbing right now. That's a fatal flaw. Now, up for debate on what is the ultimate fatal flaw, but I think they all kind of in some capacity align with the lack of size that they have. That's just something, again, when you make a big swing like the Durant trade, you inherently live with that for at least that very first season. Now you got to get creative because you still got bill salary, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that in the offseason, but those are things that they have to address in some capacity for sure. Yes, sometimes boxing out can be better for sure. I think sometimes also they just don't have the size, and that's just something you have to bake into it. But I think the other part of it too is when you constantly don't get to the free throw line and you don't have another way of slowing the game down to kind of play to your strengths, that's when a flaw that matches with another flaw on the other side of the court really starts to hurt your game process.
I think, and this is, I don't know if this is a cop-out to the question, right? Because it's like, what do we do besides getting new personnel? But I don't think you need new personnel to do what Simon in the chat said, which is like play Fleming, Dunn, and Malawatch more. And we'll talk about Malawatch. We're going to do a members-only mailbag that's going to be up for members in a little bit, so keep your eye out for that. And we'll talk a little bit more about Malawatch in that one, but how do you rebound better? I think you have to play your best rebounders, right? And your best rebounders do come with some deficiencies. I would say Ryan Dunn is one of your better rebounders on the team. In fact, I think that has probably been his most consistent skill since entering the NBA. We've seen some fluctuations in his defense, specifically when it comes to fouling. We've seen a lot of fluctuations in his offense. We all know what I'm talking about there. But the rebounding and the nose for it has always been great, especially the defensive rebounding. Rasheer Fleming's a big dude, right? Big guy that has a great nose for rebounding, specifically offensively, but we've seen it defensively as well, his instincts on going and crashing the board. Kaman, I would say, as far as rebounding goes, is, I would say, still the third best rebounding center on the team as far as instincts go, but purely at his size, sometimes he can just walk into them. So I would look more at Ryan and Rasheer as guys that can be inserted in there where, like, Goody is one of your best offensive rebounds. Him and Rasheer have a pretty similar offensive rebounding rate, you know? So that to me is, yes, maybe there's some technique, maybe there's a little ball watching. I know somebody pointed that out with Book, that sometimes he's not boxing out. A lot of times stars can sometimes get into that, especially when you get the weaker defensive assignment and you're not as active in the defensive possession. Sometimes you get in a little bit of a lull naturally. I would just try to play a little more size, and I'm not trying to cop out because guys can play better and do better, but at the end of the day, you don't have new personnel you can get, but you do have personnel that fit more in that box with their specific strengths that could at least help you get from 26th to like 22nd, right? They're not going to go and be top 10, but can you improve it by 3 or 4 spots by the time you get into where possessions matter the most come postseason time?
I would like to point out, because I got called out for it, first of all, but I forget the 5-man lineup who was out there, but I remember the Tuesday, the Magic game, it was 111-108. The Suns got 2 stops that they needed, and they got the defensive board each time. Now, we talked all game about how the Magic had a size advantage over the Suns, and I'm pretty sure Goody was out there because I know one of the plays he was there, and he was playing hobbled out there. But we've seen this team do it. We've seen them show the effort in those spots like that and the ability to do it. But I think, as somebody said, rebounding is a big time of it is an effort thing. Sometimes you just don't. It's a bad bounce, and the guy's bigger than you, and he gets to it first. You can't do anything about that. But I think the big focus you can have right now is all the ones that are just a product of effort and being in the right position. You need to get as many of those as possible because there are going to be some that you just flat out do not have the facilities to go and grab and get. So I think the big thing is looking at the film and realizing, look, this is something that they're capable of. Personnel, having those guys in there. And then again, we've seen them do it.
Yeah, I would like to think that down the line, because you practice against yourselves so often, practice hasn't happened a lot lately because of the way their schedule is, but in a general sense, if you're a team that crashes often, you have your crash rules, and you practice those, you naturally have to defend those. You will hope that iron sharpens iron. A team strength can also help strengthen the team weakness just by reps. I don't think there's many other teams that crash as many guys as the Suns do to the offensive glass. You hope that after compiling so many of those reps, you're able to kind of flip that into at least a neutral, to your point, Eric. You're not going to be elite at it this season without adding new pieces, and needless to say, you're well past the opportunity to do that. So just kind of being more disciplined with it, I think you can be better with that. I think Jalen chipping in the ways that he has the last 2 weeks is an example of just how everybody else can help with that. Jalen's not the biggest guy in terms of frame to box somebody out, but he has a lot of athleticism to go get the ball. And if he's going to get it, that naturally springboards you into your transition.
You've missed Mark for 2 months now at that point. He's not the most physical and going out there and pushing guys to the side and grabbing the rebounds, but hell, he's big and he's athletic and he's a good rebounder, right? Oso coming off of the bench instead of starting, like that is going to help with the bench rebounding. Hopefully Rasheer getting some more minutes here than what he got the other night. Like, Collin is a plus rebounder for his size. I would consider Jalen a plus rebounder. If you look at the last couple of games, I do think Book has had some good rebounding games, grabbing some difficult and contested ones, specifically in some big moments. Dillon is probably, I would say, for his size, one of the pound-for-pound worst rebounders on the team, but he's also usually out on the perimeter as well defending, so maybe he would, get more if you were playing more of a POA guy against the offensive creator. So I think that they have enough facilities to get the rebounding better. I do think they need to play 1 or 2 more pieces to kind of get that going. We're going to keep this going, talk about our confidence level the Suns get out of the play-in, what happens if the worst-case scenario happens, and, believe it or not, some positivity on the other side of our final break. It's hard to find guarantees in life, but not when you're looking for the husband and wife law team. Mark and Alexis Breyer not just lead a firm that's experienced and specialized and ready to help you if the incident of a serious injury or wrongful death happens, but they're also happy to make you and all of their clients guarantees. Guarantees that you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason. A guarantee that you can talk to any of their lawyers whenever you want about anything that you'd like to discuss. A guarantee that you'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they have to reduce their attorney's fee to do so. Plus, they will always, and I mean always, be upfront and honest with you about the strengths and the weaknesses of your case so that you can make the most informed decision, whether to go to trial or whether to settle outside of court. Whatever it is, the husband and wife law team, Mark and Alexis Breyer, they have you covered. So if you've had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first at 602-783-8841 or visit their website at the link in our show notes and make sure you tell them that PHNX sent you. And our friends over at Mountain America Credit Union. Everybody needs a checking account, so why not getting a checking account that works for you? Things like restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events. You can get all of that with the My Style checking account. But the best part is Mountain America Credit Union is the official credit union of the Mercury and the Suns, which means you can get official Suns and Mercury cards. So you can get that My Style checking account as a debit card, labeled, of course, with that Suns or Mercury logo. And why not go for both? So get, let's say, the Suns debit card, and let's get a Mercury credit card, a no annual fee credit card with loan rate, cash back, and of course rewards cards options. They have all of it over at Mountain America Credit Union, who are dedicated to helping you guide yourself forward on your financial journey. So go get your Mercury or Suns card today. Apply at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/Suns to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit. Make My Style your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Rounding things out here on PHNX Suns. Thank you all for watching this live, going back and watching this after the fact. Again, no show tomorrow, but we'll be back with pregame, watch-along, post-game show to help you get through Easter on Sunday. Mark with a $5 super chat getting involved with our mailbag show. This is a next year question, but what skills, besides shooting, would help Oso play the 4, even without spacing at the 5? Did Coach Mobley and Allen? I mean, if it's not shooting, it's still being a little bit more offensively diverse when it comes to scoring. He's been, I think, better at being aggressive. He needs to still be a little more consistent with that floater, maybe be able to spread that floater out a little bit of a further range. But, I mean, honestly, to me, it does depend more on, do you get spacing at the 5? Because there is not a world in my mind where Oso Ighodaro is shooting the basketball.
Yeah, Oso's a 4, or Oso's a 5 unless you have a true floor spacing 5 that's playing next to him.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that in a consistent capacity, not just you can occasionally knock down a 3. No, you need to be almost prolific to allow for him to roam inside the arc and do the things that he does as a connector to an elite level if he's going to be sharing the floor with the big. So unless they find a solve to that, or at least something close to that, I'll just go ahead and throw 2 names out there. If the Suns had a way of navigating to get Bobby Portis or Onyeka Okongwu, that's 2 different ways in which you can go about having Oso share the floor with somebody that is similar size but has different skill sets that they can play with to not just accommodate him offensively but truly weaponize that. If you don't check off that box, I don't see Oso playing a 4-4 team anytime soon.
I'm not saying this through the lens of Oso, but I am saying on Onyeka Okongwu. I was curious when you said it took 16 threes in his first 3 seasons. He's made 139 this year in 70 games. And I think that's the vision with Man, right?
Yeah.
Like the 3-point shooting.
Oso's not taking 16 over his career.
Yeah, maybe his basketball career. But I think the vision with Man is to become that guy. And I think he's still maybe a year away from that now. But I also think if you're thinking just the different lens, I would like to see Oso maybe get a little more decisive with some of the times he puts the ball on the floor. I think sometimes he's kind of like, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? We've seen him do it with confidence, but sometimes we see him a little unsure of what he wants to happen when he's initiating, when he's in those spots, to kind of keep the defense on their heels. Like, oh, he might drive by me. He might be doing this for a dribble handoff. He might be doing this to set some action up that we don't even know what's happening. I think that's just going to come with more comfort and time. I think that can only maybe impact it in spots, but I think that can allow him to play. But as you said, the only answer would be really to have a shooting 5 next to him.
Do you think that's something that he would benefit from guys being more decisive with? If you get in top block, that means the back door is there. If Oso's on the perimeter versus,
I thought about I agree. That's true. Like the reps and like the rapport that he has with Collin. If he can develop that with more guys, and it was interesting, to kind of to see it unfold in the way we've seen it happen this year. If he can get more reps like that with more guys and have that type of rapport with some other guys, I think that could also make the offense more dynamic and just more difficult to guard.
Hit your free throws would also.
That'd help too.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
I would say if we're going into next season and I could pick one thing for Oso Guidaro to get better at,
Free throws.
free throws.
I appreciate the question, Mark.
I do.
But I'll just say, too, Evan, even if he wasn't truly a three-point threat, if you will, if you're looking at Oso in that lens, you got to have a midi. You got to have some self-creation. That self-creation from Mobley is what allows for him to have the ball in his hands, run inverted pick and rolls while Jerry Allen's on the court, or run a 4-5 pick and roll and be viable enough to where you can't just say, let's switch it, because that's an advantage you're conceding.
People moan and groan at it, but the push shot shows he's got some touch.
Yeah,
and he's made it out to 10, 11 feet, and he makes it consistently. And I feel pretty confident when he lets it go. Like, that's not, like, really solving the issue, but he has some touch.
Mark
Maybe
says,
Sean Marion.
Mark says, have Oso run DHOs and Mark sitting in the dunker spot, Oso setting a screen, rolling and lobbing it in the short roll to Mark. I mean, I would be fascinated to see how they would try to make a Mark Williams-Oso lineup work, but I don't think it.
My question is, though, for Mark, if Oso's running handoffs with another big on the court, what stops the team from saying, we'll just switch that?
Yeah.
So if you switch it and you keep it to the sideline and Devin Booker's trying to come off a handoff with Oso, nothing happens of that. Just tick, 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 and your space is going to be compromised on top of that. It's just a lot of back and forth with it that makes it too complex for it to be viable at this present moment. Go get a Kongu, go get Bobby Portis, and now you open up some lineup versatility that you just have not had with way more size going into next season.
Go pray that Kaman Malawach can
That
shoot
helps
threes.
a lot, too.
Yeah, that could
helps a lot,
be,
too.
especially with how tall he is. All right, let's round things out here. 3 final questions before we also have a members-only mailbag that we'll be doing with a couple more questions, including one from you, Deborah. I know that you are in chat as well. So Mario asked this question. Mario Not Bros 2 says, from 0 to 10, what is your confidence level that the Suns will get out of the play-in?
6.5.
Okay. Out of the play-in, as in they lose 2 straight. Like,
I mean, I thought get out, like, win one game to advance to the
I'm
playoffs.
just like they get to the playoffs as the 7th or the 8th seed. I'm at an 8.
An 8?
I don't think they lose 2 straight games to end the season.
I hope not.
I hope so.
I hope not.
That's
but
the
yeah,
second show.
I'm at a 6.5. Just, you know, and that number can go up if they can show some good things. It's just, I'll say it over and over again until I see it. I want to see 48 minutes of Phoenix Suns basketball. We saw 48 minutes of Phoenix Suns basketball against the Cavaliers, against the Pistons a couple months ago, and that feels like forever ago. We saw it against the Raptors a couple weeks ago, but I need to see it. I need to see them string that together, because right now I just want to see some consistencies kind of settle a little bit, and then I'll be confident again.
I'm at probably like an 8 right now. Room for improvement, 100%, so I don't want to get too high up the 1 to 10 spectrum. But I'm also not in Debbie Downer mode like most everybody is on Twitter right now either. Not even close to that, which shocker. Even Kill Steven is not jumping off the ship, if you will.
You're even Steven.
Even Steven, indeed. But no, I think they're in a good space. They definitely can be better, but I think they're also, even with this kind of middling basketball that they've been playing of late, they're still better than all of the other teams in the play-in tournament at this present moment. And I think that's something that bodes well for them going into that kind of one-off scenario.
We've started talking to some people who cover other teams and getting that stuff ready for you guys here. And let's just say that confidence level for these other teams is not high.
Not at all.
And the Suns will have 2 home games. And yes, I know they've lost 2 straight games. I know they're capable of losing 2 straight games. I do not think that this team in the current situation will not make it out of the play-in. I'm pretty confident in that. I'm not as confident that they're going to win that first game as I was before. I still will pick them to win that game, and I think they will win that game, but not as confident. I think before we get to positivity, we got to get to a question from Psycho Blue, who talks about the worst case scenario and says, in the event of losing both play-in games, the last time that happened was the Clippers in 2022, should the conversation around the team be as negative as it was last summer with the scrutiny on the ownership reignited?
Nope.
No.
Not even close. Not even close.
I mean, like last year, this team was on the precipice of being the laughingstock of the.
Oh, they were. No, they were. We heard. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, tell him, Steven.
No, they were,
tell him,
sure.
Steven.
They were.
Tell him.
I mean, honestly, we've heard on many accounts from
Yeah.
people either that cover other teams or just things said from other coaches in comparing last season and preparing for those teams to this team this season. Like, it was a very different crop in terms of how they were perceived by their peers. and just generally the level that they were operating at in terms of functionality, which was very low considering what talent they had. So, like, yeah, you can't compare this season's team to last season's team, even if they did lose out the rest of the way. I know that's very much doomsday because that's unacceptable by any stretch, for sure. I want to preface with that. But even if they did do that, guess what? How many games are they ahead of last season's record at this present moment?
They won 36 games last year.
Plus six right now.
So they're 6 games ahead of
And
them.
they have 5 games left.
And have 5 games left, guaranteed to be in the play-in even if they do lose the rest of these games. Like, all of that stuff matters. But past all of the numbers and stuff that you can assess, just look at the vibe check, if you will. Everybody loves vibes. You see the frequency that this team is operating at. You see the buy-in that the coach has generated from that. And you see the buy-in that the players have given to Ott as well. Like, all of that stuff matters in terms of the continuity, the establishment of an identity, the culture, the foundation for a culture being established. They have to double down on that going into next season for it to be true, but they have an identity and they have a standard. Those are 2 things that we cannot firmly say the Suns ever had last season. If they get in a pinch, we know they're going to lean on their defense to bring them home. The offense will come about as it needs to. Last season, what was it? Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, though. I would be very disappointed.
It would be a whole lot more negative. It would be a whole lot more negative than we thought it was going to be.
It would be very disappointing if they were to lose 2 home games with an opportunity to go to the playoffs, because I don't know if anybody's ever done that. The Clippers lost their first one on the road in Minnesota because they had a party after that, and they came home and blew a 10-point lead to the Pelicans. The only other instance I could think of was the Warriors lost when LeBron saw 3 goals and shot the middle one, and then they came home and lost to the Grizzlies. But if I recall correctly, a year later, the Warriors won a championship after missing the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying the Suns team would bounce back like that, and my disappointment would be you came this far, you exceeded all these expectations, you exceeded last season just to not make the postseason. But you did exceed expectations. You did establish a culture. And you reestablish yourselves as a franchise where people are going to want to come play here. They're going to want to be a part of what is being built here. And I guess that kind of lends itself to what else we have to discuss. But, you know, it would eventually take some, like the sting would eventually go away. But right now I'm not thinking like that. They're going to figure things out. They're going to get at least one of those 2 games because they're playing at the crib.
I mean, if it happens, like, no, we're not going to be out there like we were at the end of last season. I mean, I know that it's kind of a joke now because the Suns pulled the clip, but they were on the precipice. I would say they actually were the laughing stock of the NBA. I mean, they're getting dunked on regularly.
Every time I hear precipice now,
like they were getting dunked on regularly. And Steven, like, you and I were sitting here, and it was just kind of like you threw your hands up and you said, "Well, what the hell are you supposed to do? Like, this is the most embarrassing team I've ever seen in my entire life. No heart, no hustle, no grit for an entire season, despite having Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and then a bunch of other guys that maybe we thought were better than they actually were, you know, but they, like you mentioned with the identity and like, it was all bad. You go into this offseason and there's still more good than bad, which leads us to our final question from Easy Peasy. Thank you, Easy Peasy. Says, what are some positives to take away as the regular season wraps up? I think some of the things that we just mentioned about an identity and a culture, I think that overall you should have more faith in this front office than you did 365 days ago because of how they navigated the Kevin Durant trade and the draft and other trades as well. I think they've done a pretty solid job. I can't really think of a very bad move that they've done over the last kind of year since Brian Gregory took over. And at the end of the day, I think they found a little something here. They found a little spark. They found a little joy. They need to fix some things, but that is certainly a positive.
Organizational competence and alignment. And we've talked so much, you know, about should the young players play more. And we've talked about what player development looks like. And we've said it so many different times at different moments that Rasheer Fleming is growing up right in front of us. We're starting to see it with Man. And given this franchise's circumstance with assets that they do or do not have moving forward, it was imperative that they hit on both of those draft picks. And no, they are not ready to be full-time contributors right away, but Rasheer is pretty damn close. And Man is showing us ideas of the vision of what he was drafted to eventually become, especially because he's still learning how to play the game, let alone at the NBA level. So I am very encouraged, and I think it's a massive positive that you hit on both of those picks, and there is a clear vision of what they are going to mean for this franchise in the future. And we could be talking about it in a year's time or a year and a half time this is your starting 4 and your starting 5 for this franchise. And it feels pretty good to know that you have that sewn up.
Yeah, I think all of those things matter. I think to your point, Gil, look at last season, like, yes, Ryan Dunn and Osu Iguodala developed, but there wasn't a clear-cut proof of concept of, okay, the Suns are being intentional about the things that they're working on and showing these guys in film. The guys are receptive to it. They're bought into the plan with them, and they're showing proof of showing that proof of concept and return on investment with it. That just wasn't there last season. Eric, we spent half of the season trying to figure out why Ryan Dunn was playing 5 seconds a game for a team that needed point-of-attack defense, and their best point-of-attack defender was just not on the court. But the team keeps saying that they wanted them to be better defensively. They felt like they could be middle of the pack. You're not showing it. You're not playing your guys. So I think having that proof of concept on the development side, you've had 3 to 4 guys that went down to the G League and then came back and now have just been full-time with the big league team since the halfway point of the season. That matters a lot for a team that's trying to turn a corner, turn a new leaf into a new iteration, a new foundation. The other part for me, too, is the buy-in from everybody, like I mentioned with the last question that we got asked, and then also just seeing the way that things have played out. You can tell that they're working towards something. That's not something you can fake the funk with. You can't talk somebody's ear off with it. You either see it and you have it or you don't. And I think by accounts of, again, the peers of everybody in the league and what they've had to say about the Suns, they're in that space right now.
Here's another positive. There's very clear deficiencies that you have from a roster perspective. Mm-hmm. Last offseason, that you had very clear deficiencies, culture, identity, give an F. What did they do in the offseason? They fixed it. Mm-hmm. And they did it with moves on the margin, like grabbing Jordan Goodwin for a non-guaranteed minimum contract, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a franchise that even without a bevy of draft picks, right, and this ability to make huge, giant moves, have found a way to make it work and to address the things that they need to address. So that is a positive. Final thoughts on our Mailbag Friday before we head into the weekend. We have some stuff out on our YouTube channel for you and in our audio feed that you can check out on why the Suns are struggling, a deeper dive into some of the lineup struggles that they've been having. That's all the way out on our YouTube now. Plus, we have a video on Jalen Green going out, also hitting your audio feeds as well tomorrow to get you through the weekend before we're back on Sunday. But as far as today, gentlemen, final thoughts before we wrap up.
We appreciate y'all. Obviously, we appreciate answering y'all's questions and the community that we continue to foster. And let's enjoy this last week and a half of the season together, and whatever lies beyond.
Mm-hmm. 3 things for me. 1, on the women's side of basketball, go Texas. On the men's side of basketball, get Michigan absolutely all the way out of here. I mean, get them out of there. Number 3, shout out J. Cole.
We're gonna miss you, man.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
If he ends up on the Suns next season, just kidding, just kidding.
That's a culture. That's a culture guy right there.
He just can't.
You need some size.
Well,
He
rebounds.
can't do that because he's in ownership with Gil's franchise back.
Whoa.
So you can't quite do that.
Steven, do we want to just do this now? You want to tell the people this is your last season covering the Suns?
No.
Because you're
I
gonna
have
go,
no news to break on that.
You're going to go cover the...
Oh, I hope you don't see that.
What team is he on?
The Nanjing Monkey Kings.
Whoa. Kara, excuse me?
Wow.
Ew, oh, she is from Detroit. That's even worse. Michigan State right there. Why? You just lost some cool points for sure.
Wow.
You really could have just not said that. We would have been fine. But you just It doesn't even matter what blue, because she could have been saying the blue team.
No,
Carolina or the blue team.
Don't put that
Either way, I look at them the same.
Doubled down.
I look at them the same. That's
down.
nasty work. Ew, that's sick. My favorite color is blue, and I can't stand both of those 2 schools, so that should say everything to you.
No, we did not talk about the Cam Johnson rumors. That's going to be peak off-season content. So.
Only way college basketball gets better with Duke losing is if Michigan loses. I always celebrate like Michigan State won last week and they didn't lose. That's how bad I want that.
Well, we're going to keep on answering.
Go U of A. Shout out Kevin. Shout out Damon.
All right,
I'm locked in. I'm locked in. Tommy
Too
Lloyd.
far.
Tommy
Too
Lloyd.
far.
I'm locked in. I'm locked in.
Thank you, Shane. Look, we've got a couple more questions we'll get for the members only. So if you are a member, you could join today for just $5 a month. Every time we do a mailbag, we chunk off a little piece for you and give it to you as well. So make sure you tune in for that. Deborah, I know you're in here, and we have one of your questions coming up. We also have a question from Tim, from Freak, and from Brian R. as well. That's right, from Freak. from Greek Freak. We appreciate all of you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out. Follow the show at PHNX_Suns. That's on Twitter and on Instagram as well. We'll let you know when we get any injury updates on Jordan Goodwin or anybody else in the Phoenix Suns. Of course, you can follow the mustache behind the Mac at Shane Deef. Back where he started it all so many years ago. Of course, you can follow Steven, even Steven, at StevenPG3.
Go get him, cats.
And Steven with the PH. You can follow Gil at GilMcGregor_. You can follow me at ERIK. RUBY. We'll talk to you all on Sunday.
We all silly like the mayor.